Hello, everyone. Welcome back to A Course in Miracles 365, Awakening to Love. I'm Reverend Tomás. And before we launch into today's discussion, which is very, very poignant, it really is. It's beautiful. I want to thank all of you who have recently subscribed to this channel, including those of you who subscribed yesterday. Welcome. Welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here. And I thank you not only for your subscription, but mostly above all of the views, the comments, the hellos, all of that, all of the activity on social media. What I appreciate the most is your commitment to your own practice. Yes, your commitment to yourself. Mhm. Yeah, your commitment to taking the deep dive that you're taking. And as you know, it's not just for you, it's for all of us. So we all appreciate it very much. I really want to thank you and say that right off the bat here. Yeah. Your own practice in any spiritual tradition, really, when you think about it, doesn't matter what you practice or don't practice, is the highest form of offering you can make. Isn't it? It's beautiful. It's higher than monetary offerings to somebody or an organization, isn't it? It's higher than even intellectually understanding something. It's putting it into practice and doing it. That's how we know that the material that we're studying is actually true. I mean, if you're thinking, okay, well, prove it. Well, actually, it's up to each one of us to prove it. And we prove it to ourselves and everyone else by doing it. That's how you know. So I really appreciate this commitment. That's how it starts, with an interest, with a piqued interest in what we call spirituality and spiritual practice, and an interest that's piqued in this thing called A Course in Miracles. That's how it begins. And a journey once begun is certain, the end is certain. Why would we want to go back anyway to an old mindset that causes us suffering and harm, especially psychological harm, and doesn't help us? And why would you want to go back anyway? We're in the very first portions of one of the supplements here to A Course in Miracles, specifically psychotherapy, purpose, process, and practice. Yesterday's video on true healing was covering the introduction, and I really invite you to go back and look at that. Okay, spoiler alert, if you're watching this one first, True Healing, the title of that video, True Healing is of the mind. Spoiler alert. Right. Now we launch into a very beautiful and wonderfully, just wonderfully written, it's dictated by Jesus to Helen Schuckman. It's a beautiful passage on the purpose of psychotherapy. Now, understand here that if you wish, you can take the word, the noun psychotherapy, and substitute healing for that. You can substitute practice for that, the purpose of spiritual practice. What we're talking about in this supplement that talks about the relationship that appears in the world between a therapist and a patient, as in conventional psychotherapy, as many of us know it, right? It's about a teacher-student relationship. That's what it's about. And what we're going to talk about today, you can apply to the context of working with a coach, if you so choose. This is one of the things that I do, and it applies. It applies here. to working with a teacher, to working with a coach, to working with a therapist or a counselor, if that's what you're currently doing. It's about the teacher-student relationship, and it's about healing. Therefore, this beautifully, beautifully taken down pamphlet supplement to A Course in Miracles is for each and every one of us. So, sentence one, right? The purpose of psychotherapy. Jesus says very simply, the purpose of psychotherapy is to remove the blocks to truth. Well, you're getting a beautiful picture of my 50-year-old eyes. That was kind of small print. One day, we'll come back to this. One day, 6 years ago, I was 44. I woke up and couldn't see the pages that I was attempting to read. They were, and maybe if you've reached middle age, you know what I'm talking about. They were all blurry. And the day before, I was able to read them perfectly well. So that's what we're dealing with, right? Yeah, but what do you do? We're not a body, after all. So the purpose of psychotherapy is to remove the blocks to truth. You'll recall from the introduction to the Course of Miracles, Jesus talks about it as being the removal to the barriers or the blocks to our awareness of love's presence, which is who we are. So we're removing the blocks to truth. That's the context. That's the real purpose of what Jesus refers to as psychotherapy here, and what's commonly known as therapy or healing or working with a coach, right, in the world, working with a minister, with someone that is a spiritual mentor, for example. There are many different ways this presents itself. So the purpose of all of this is healing. It's removing the blocks to truth. Now, Jesus goes on to say right here at the start of this segment that there are many, many times where it is appropriate to work with a human teacher or a therapist or a coach or a counselor or a mentor. There are many instances where that is perfectly appropriate. So ultimately, we all have one teacher. That's the Holy Spirit, the voice for God, who directs us. And incidentally, as you may recall from other segments of the course, we can make any instant, any relationship holy simply by inviting the Holy Spirit into it, to direct it, giving it over to Him to direct. He's never wrong. We, on the other hand, when we attempt to do things on our own, are often wrong. And well, it's so common in this world that it's, well, it's just common. So we're invited to invite our inner teacher, the Holy Spirit, the voice for God, the universal inspiration, the answer with a capital A, many, many things that the Holy Spirit is called. It's called by many names. So we're invited to allow it, him, to enter and take charge of the relationship. So, with the purpose of A Course in Miracles being to remove the blocks to truth, it is not necessary that the student understand or even accept at first that truth is God. God is. It's not necessary that someone fully and comprehensively adopts and accepts that, in order for this person to benefit tremendously from a holy relationship, from a student-teacher relationship, from a therapist-patient relationship, from a coach-client relationship. It doesn't make any difference what the person does or does not believe. They can still benefit. They most certainly can. What we're aiming to do here is to help someone remove their own barriers and blocks to truth. We can't remove it for them. So what we mostly get is a gradual process. We get a gradual process by which one recognizes illusions, looks at them, and gradually, if need be, realizes that they can be gently set aside. One can look at an illusion and set it aside. Forgiveness in the thought system of A Course in Miracles accomplishes that. Now, someone may be very resistant to this and yet know that they need help. So, as the teacher, it is really, really important that you ask your inner teacher, your guide, for assistance as to what to say, how to direct this person that's given you to work with. You've made this a holy relationship. So, what are you to say? How are you to direct them? A person will begin to make progress when they open themselves enough to realize that, well, this illusion is of our making. We made this up. Clearly, someone does not have to fully grasp that right away. There simply needs to be an openness to that. Now, understand, if you're a coach, a spiritual coach, or a minister, that because someone has sought you out in the first place, there is an opening. They were meant to seek you out, and they have done so. Beautiful. There's an opening. There's a willingness. In the Course, Jesus talks about what we supply to the whole endeavor is a little willingness. That's how it's called and referred to in the Course, is a little willingness. That's what we supply. Our teacher does the rest, directs us. Guys, it's beautiful. And yeah, there's initial resistance to it. I mean, I had it. Everyone has it. It's just part of this experience. And we learn gradually to recognize that, forgive it, let it go, to give every situation over to our inner teacher completely. This, of course, can be done gradually because we don't want to frighten people. They're already frightened enough, right? We don't want to heap it on. The ego is quite enough for us to deal with without somebody scaring the shit out of us even further, right? So what we do is ask for guidance. A very, very interesting and a good example of how you go about walking around in the world is just understanding that sometimes someone can be in such a state of confusion, and we can call it delusion. It's not necessarily delusional to them. It's real to them because they've made it real. The clouds of guilt, the clouds of confusion, all of the troubles that appear here in the world that seem to appear outside us, still, again, a little glimpse of the fact that we're meeting ourselves, that everything that we see outside is a reflection of what's going on in our own mind. And it is that even just entertaining the concept, even for just a split second, is really good. Yeah. Nothing is ever lost on the spiritual path, ever. Let's all take heart in that, because that's pretty badass. That's cool, isn't it? Nothing is ever lost. So when you're walking down the street, it's obvious when we meet people that some of them appear to be in a state. Some people are rude and mean, and you pass them by on the street. Let's say you're walking down the street to the park, and you wave at your neighbors, say hello, and they go, or you wish somebody good morning, and they say, "What's so good about it?" Or as some people say, "Shut up." Oh, good morning. Shut up. Oh, right. No, they're clearly not in a good place mentally. What do you want to do? Well, I hope that you don't want to lash out at them, but you will want to, walk away. Right. That's a forgiveness opportunity for you because you're meeting yourself. Now, when you walk down the street smiling and saying good morning at people, some people will be apt to say good morning back or be very pleasant. Again, you're meeting yourself. Sometimes all people need is a simple smile. Sometimes just wishing someone good morning makes their day, and you don't know the impact that you're going to have by simply being kind. If someone's rude, it's a forgiveness opportunity. If someone's kind back, that's beautiful. And when you walk down the street and you hear the birds singing and you see the beautiful trees and grass at the park and the sky, maybe some beautiful clouds, maybe a limitless sky, that's symbolic of our own beauty and limitlessness as Christ, as the Son of God, exactly as we were created. And we've never left our source. Let's wrap up with this. It's an often repeated idea from A Course in Miracles. Ideas leave not their source. And well, there's a reason why it's repeated so often. We've never left our source. Allow that to sink in gradually if you need to, deeply if you feel ready and called. We have never left our source, capital S, right? Right. So I invite you in all of these videos to go back and watch them over more than once if you're so called. If there's something that you don't understand and a second or a third viewing doesn't clear it up for you, please feel welcome to reach out to me here on YouTube. This is what I do, and this is what I'm here to do, is to teach and to serve as a guide for you, as a mentor, as a coach, whatever you need. If I can help you with it, in any way, I most certainly will. So I invite that communication. And thank you all for all of the comments that you've left, especially recently. There have been quite a few. I do appreciate that. And well, let's just come back to sentence one as we wrap up here. The purpose of psychotherapy, the purpose of spiritual practice is to remove the blocks to truth. That's it. That's all. Remove the blocks to truth. Truth simply is. It has never gone anywhere at all, and we've always been one with it. We're simply removing the blocks that we've imposed to that. The purpose of spiritual practice is to remove those obstacles. And the more we remember to practice, the more we remember to do it, the more joyful and more, I guess, more beautiful, more loving we are, the more beauty we see in the world. We're removing the blocks to our awareness of love's presence. So let's keep going, shall we? And I'll meet you right back here. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon.